Well, hey there, friendships. Welcome to Curtis's Corner. If you are new here, welcome. I'm Curtis. This is my corner. And if you just click right up here, you can go and check out my channel trailer so that way you can see all of the wonderful content that I put on this channel for you. And don't forget to hit the like button and the subscribe button so that way you can welcome yourself into the friend zone and be a part of this wonderful, joyous club. So, if you are here, you have stumbled into the wonderful world of horror. Now, don't be alarmed. This video isn't actually meant to frighten you or scare you in any way. It's actually meant to help you. So if you haven't actually seen my last scare score for The Conjuring, you can actually click right up there. It will bring you right to that video. Go give that a watch, and then you can come right back here because we are actually going to be talking about the sequel to that in this video now. But if you have, then great. Welcome aboard. So this week's episode of the Scare Score, we are going to focus on none other than Annabelle, the first sequel / spin-off of the Conjuring universe. Annabelle came out in 2014 and stars Annabelle Wallis and Ward Horton. Without further ado, let's get to the scares. The film begins with the studio logo breaking apart as it forms the production company's logo while ominous cellos play. Red text appears on screen, which tests our reading ability as we learn some history about dolls. Our first scare comes at just 56 seconds in with the same close-up of Annabelle from The Conjuring. I felt as though as this time around, this scare actually worked a lot more because it was just more abrupt and just less kind of a lead up to it. And it was just kind of BAM! There in your face. We get a quick recap of the Annabelle case the Warrens investigated at the beginning of The Conjuring. A zoom in on Annabelle and a cut to black changes the scene to a church with music from Rory's music box. The camera zooms out, showing us the statue of a demon and giving us our title card for the movie. The movie jumps back a year to begin our story in Santa Monica, California. Our two main characters are thumb wrestling during their church sermon. Pretty sure you're supposed to be paying attention in church and not acting like a damn child! We see that Mia is pregnant, which is confirmed by John saying he had to cheat during the thumb wrestling. Mia goes to look for Sharon, their neighbor, as her husband, Pete, was looking for her. After some conversation about baby names, which is very forced I find, everyone feels awkward and goes to their homes. After Mia makes it sound like the Higgins lost their daughter, John clarifies she simply ran away to join the hippies. We get close-ups of Mia's fingers near the sewing needle as it cuts to a close-up of her eyes watching the TV, making us viewers slightly on edge that the needle will go through her finger. Mia gets upset because John says some throwaway line that, again, seems very forced. So John apologizes. Mia admits she's oversensitive, and we learn John is still in med school. John leaves the room to come back with a gift for Mia. In the box is the Annabelle doll that Mia has been looking for a while. That night, we see the Higgins light turn on. And at 12 minutes and 38 seconds, we get our second scare from loud music as blood splatters against their wall. Sharon screams, the light turns off, and Mia wakes up. She wakes up John, who goes to check on the neighbors. Mia stands on the porch and watches as John goes into the Higgins house. She starts walking over and calling his name. Our third scare comes at just 14 minutes and 52 seconds with John running out of the house covered in blood. Mia runs back to their house to call an ambulance. While she's on the phone, we see someone walking in the background. As Mia hangs up and leaves the kitchen, a woman walks into frame holding the Annabelle doll and whispers, "I like your dolls." Mia starts backing up while talking to the woman as a man walks up behind Mia and grabs her. He stabs her in the side of her stomach as John runs in and tackles him to the ground. At 16 minutes and 44 seconds, our fourth scare comes from the woman running into the room and shrieking at Mia. She grabs a knife from the floor, but John pushes her against a wall and throws her out of the room. The man attacks John as Mia sits and watches, holding her stomach where she was stabbed. There's a lot happening in this scene, and all I know is that if I was in their position, I'd already be dead. Mia sees the woman lock herself into the nursery as the police show up and shoot the man. Mia is put on a stretcher and taken to the hospital. As she passes the nursery, she sees the woman bleeding from her neck onto the Annabelle doll with a symbol written on the wall beside her. In a news report, we learned that the woman was the neighbor's daughter, Annabelle. The neighbors were murdered, and the man was Annabelle's boyfriend. We learn the baby is in good health, but Mia needs bed rest to relieve stress caused from the event. Mia makes John promise to save the baby if it is a choice between her and the baby. The mobile above the crib starts moving on its own. John and Mia are woken up to a sound in the other room, and John investigates the noise with a bat for protection, only to find out that it's just the sewing machine. John, relax. It's just making you some new socks, okay? Your feet are cold. John unplugs the machine and goes to close the nursery door when he finds Annabelle behind it. He puts her in the rocking chair and goes back to bed. The next morning, Mia is in bed sewing while watching a movie on TV. The TV flickers with static. Mia throws a book at the screen, which just shuts it off. Listen, Mia, just because you don't like static doesn't mean the TV wants books being thrown at it, okay? TVs have feelings too. Mia hears the rocking chair in the nursery rocking, but when she goes to look, the chair stops. John comes home and asks how Mia's day was.
TV went out again.
Really?
You forgot to tell him that it was because you threw a book at the TV. Mia looks at Annabelle and tells John she wants to get rid of it because their attacker was holding it. John takes Annabelle and puts her in the garbage. Mia and John talk to a detective who wants to inform them about the incident, but Mia doesn't want to know. John leaves for work while Mia sews in bed. We're shown all the stove elements are turned on. We get a few close-up shots of Mia's finger close to the sewing machine needle. I find in these moments, like all these different scenes that are happening right now, I find that it really works with increasing the anxiety of the viewers because of how quickly all the scenes are changing back and forth between all of the different aspects. We're constantly on edge, not knowing what's going to happen with the popcorn, not knowing what's going to happen with the sewing machine. And I think this really increases the level of anxiety that everyone is going to be experiencing during this movie. Mia pays too much attention to the TV, so she gets the needle through her finger. Mia finally smells the burning popcorn on the stove. She freaks out and backs away as she trips on a chair and falls, landing on her stomach. As she crawls away, we get our fifth scare at 33 minutes and 34 seconds with a loud growl and Mia getting pulled back toward the fire. Someone, with two people, break open the door and help Mia out of the house. John runs through the hospital to find Mia. We find out Mia had her baby and named it Leah. How original. Mia tells John she wants to move because the house is cursed. John agrees and they move to Pasadena, California. Mia's making the best of her situation by making the arguments that her upstairs neighbors have into a soap opera. Mia takes the baby out of the church so she doesn't distract from the sermon. Father Perez tries to talk to Mia about the Higgins, but she makes an excuse to leave. Mia starts unpacking more of her creepy dolls when she finds Annabelle in one of the boxes. John is confused as he threw her away, but when he asks for it, Mia tells him it's okay and places her on a shelf. The next day, Mia and the baby are asleep with the TV on. This series seriously loves wasting electricity. The TV turns to static and then gets silent while the camera pans to Mia and the baby. We see a woman walking in the nursery and then appears in the same room as Mia. She leans over the baby crib. Leah cries, which wakes Mia up. The TV is back to normal and the woman is nowhere to be found. Mia goes for a walk with her baby and sees some kids playing on the stairs. As she talks to them, the boy says to his sister not to talk to strangers. As Mia agrees, she continues talking to them. Didn't we just say not to talk to strangers? Mia introduces herself and the baby to them and asks for their names. Mia, come on! You literally just agreed that not talking to strangers was a good idea. Why do you keep talking to them? The boy interrupts his sister again and reminds her not to tell Mia anything. Thank you! Mia goes outside with Leah in a carriage. Mia introduces herself to Evelyn, who gives her a book. As Mia gets back to her building, she sees a picture on the stairs of a woman pushing a stroller like hers. Aw, cute! As Mia keeps walking up the stairs, she sees another drawing. The exact same, except now there's a truck. Another picture falls from the floor above them to show a third picture, this time with the truck closer. When Mia gets to her apartment, she finds a fourth paper. When she turns it over, she sees the truck hit the stroller and killed baby Leah. That's not nice. Mia shows John the pictures and they talk about talking to the kids' parents. We hear muffled talking from John and Mia as we see Annabelle listening in the rocking chair. John promises Mia some adult time the next night, but ends up breaking that promise as we see Mia eating alone. Mia turns off the record player and cleans up the table. We see a shadowy reflection in the picture above the record player as the music turns back on. Mia turns the music off while we stare at a shadowy figure behind the curtain at the window. Mia hears whispers as she moves toward the window. We get our sixth scare at 49 minutes and 8 seconds as something rushes past Mia and knocks her to the ground. Just 6 seconds later, we get our seventh scare as a child runs by Mia giggling. Mia follows the girl and hears her sewing machine running on its own. As she turns it off, we see the little giggling girl standing in Leah's room. Mia turns around to look at the girl as the curtains move behind her. The child runs toward Mia as the door closes and giving us our 8th scare at 50 minutes exactly as the door is pushed open to a screaming woman going after Mia. John tries to explain that Mia could be experiencing signs of postpartum depression or her anxiety. Now, I'm no doctor there, John, but I'm pretty sure you meant to say PTSD and not postpartum. Just saying. John suggests they talk to someone. Mia assumes he means a therapist because she thinks he's calling her crazy. We see them talking to Father Perez about what's been happening to them. He explains that while they experienced awful things, they've also experienced good things. The next morning, Mia and John run into Evelyn, who says she felt like she's known Mia for a long time. Mia starts sewing again and hears a door close after a... What was that? A screech? A squeaky door? I don't know what sound that was. That was like... Anyways. She ignores the sound and goes back to sewing. The camera pans to switch the day to night as Mia puts Leah to bed. When Mia leaves, the door starts closing by itself. Thunder crashes, giving us our 9th scare at 54 minutes and 12 seconds. Mia leaves her baby alone. Really? You're seriously leaving her alone right now? Okay, Mother of the Year. To take out some boxes to the storage locker. She hears a baby cry and a squeaking sound. A carriage rolls out behind her and a baby cries again. Mia walks toward the carriage as the baby cries get louder. Maybe it's crying because it doesn't want you going near it, Mia. We see the blanket inside the carriage is covered in blood as Mia reaches toward it. 6 feet, Mia! Miss Rona's a thing now, you know! Mia moves the blanket to see nothing is there. Our 10th scare comes at 56 minutes and 34 seconds with a black claw-like hand grabbing Mia's arm. As Mia runs, we can see a shape of something standing behind her. The lights are shutting off as she runs to the elevator. Mia sighs in relief as the elevator doors close, and on her arm is a marking of an A. Hey, I know that sign! The elevator doors open and Mia walks out to discover she is still in the storage room. Again, she tries to get to her floor, but when the doors open... Aww, the demon's playing games. How nice. On the 3rd try of playing the elevator game, the lights start flickering and the elevator starts shaking. The doors open and... Anyone want to take a guess of where she was? No? No one? Alright, I'll tell you. The storage room! Mia locates the exit and makes a hasty run towards it. Lightning flashes, babies are crying, and Mia is running like an Olympian up those stairs. Mia slips and falls. She looks over the railing to see a demon claw appear and disappear. She keeps running, then finally stops and looks back after climbing another set of stairs and sees the demon on them staring at her. At 58 minutes and 53 seconds, lightning flashes as the demon appears right in front of Mia, giving us our 11th scare. Mia finally gets into her apartment as we get a view of the hallway to show that the demon is gone. The next day, Mia has a bandage on her arm, but when she takes it off, the A mark is gone. Mia called the detective back to talk about the night she was attacked by Annabelle. We find out that Annabelle and her boyfriend were trying to conjure something during their attack. Mia takes one of the evidence pictures to keep with the detective's permission. We find out that the cult Annabelle was in was called the Disciples of the Ram. Mia goes to Evelyn's bookstore to find a book about demons or ghosts. Evelyn helps her find the right book she needs, and then explains that it isn't a ghost haunting Mia, but rather a demon. We see a scar on Evelyn's arm, which she explains was from knowing that her daughter died, so she didn't see the point on living anymore. Mia goes back home with Leah in the carriage. As she drops her keys, the carriage rolls into the street. Mia staring at a reflection of Annabelle holding the Annabelle doll. Mia turns around to see the carriage get hit by a green truck, which luckily didn't have Leah in it because she was holding her the entire time. Mia starts her research of demons and finds the same marking from the wall and her wrist. She finds out that the demon is after Leah and starts looking for ways to stop it. The rocking chair starts moving again and Mia goes to investigate. Annabelle isn't in the room and the doors to Leah's room both close and lock her in. Books start falling from the shelf, almost hitting Leah as a shadow walks back and forth in front of Leah's room. Mia watches as the books fall and near misses by Leah's head. Our 12th scare happens at 1 hour and 9 minutes with Annabelle falling in front of the door. Mia smashes the doorknob to get Leah, and Annabelle slowly raises into the air in the background. As the camera zooms into Annabelle, we see the demon behind her is the one that's actually controlling her. As John returns home, he hears banging and Mia screaming. We see the apartment furniture has been flipped over. Father Perez makes a visit to John and Mia and asks to see Annabelle. Father Perez explains that demons need permission to take someone's soul, so he offers to take the doll away to keep them safe and to weaken the demon. Father Perez's radio starts acting up. As he tries to fix it, he hears, "God have mercy on your soul!" He turns off the radio and we see Annabelle's eyes are now bloodshot. At the church, Father Perez takes Annabelle out of the car. When we pan back to the back seat, the real Annabelle is sitting in his car. Father Perez turns to see Annabelle standing behind him. As he opens the church door, we get our 13th scare with him being thrown back away from the church at just 1 hour and 16 minutes into the film. Annabelle takes the doll and we cut to black. John sees 2 nuns in the hospital and goes to the room where we assume Father Perez is. We see Evelyn and Mia come home as Evelyn informs us of how much she bought for Leah. We get more backstory on Evelyn and her daughter, finding out that Evelyn was actually the one that caused the accident that killed her daughter Ruby. Father Perez wakes up and tells John what happened. John calls home to Mia, who is making tea for Evelyn, and tells her what happened and what will happen. Mia, however, only hears static on her end. After she hangs up the phone, loud banging can be heard at the door. Mia opens the door to see Father Perez standing with his back to her. As Mia reaches to touch Father Perez, oh my god! 6 feet! We get our 14th scare at 1 hour and 22 minutes as he shouts, "May God have mercy on your soul!" The door slams shut as everything in the apartment starts falling over or turning on. Leah cries, but as Mia gets to her room, she's nowhere to be found. All of Mia's dolls are covered in blood. Evelyn's trying to get Mia out of the apartment when sounds from the neighbors make them worried. At 1 hour and 24 minutes, we get our 15th scare with the Annabelle demon jumping from the ceiling, knocking Evelyn out of the apartment and locking her out. Mia hears Leah crying and searches everywhere for her. Instead, Mia finds her best friend Annabelle and gives her her best Adam Lambert impression. A crayon rolls out of Leah's room while her mobile plays the Rory Music Box song. On the ceiling is a lot of scribble, but also the answer to Mia's question. The door closes behind Mia, and we see Annabelle is taking a nap in Leah's crib. Aw, how cute! Mia starts going MMA on Annabelle when she disapproves of her artwork above her. We see Leah on the ground, seemingly unconscious, but when it starts to laugh, we see it's just another doll. Oh, Mia, the demon just likes playing jokes on you, it's fine. As Mia begs for another way to get Leah back, the window opens with "Your Soul" written on it. John gets home, Evelyn tells him Mia is in trouble, and John gets to Mia before she jumps out of the window. Evelyn and John try to talk her out of jumping. John grabs Mia as Evelyn takes Annabelle and jumps out of the window. Leah's back in her crib as Father Perez speaks his sermon. We're told it's 6 months later, and Mia finally gets the picture Father Perez took of her and Leah at the beginning of the movie. We see a woman walk into a collector's shop where Annabelle sits. She talks about her daughter being a nurse and picks up Annabelle. We're told Annabelle is in a case inside Ed and Lorraine Warren's house and is blessed twice a month. We're told one final quote from Lorraine Warren as we slowly zoom in to Annabelle. And with that, that is the end of Annabelle. So, with the second movie in this extended universe all done, did we get more scares than we did in The Conjuring? Let's get to the score and find out. Annabelle gave us 15 scares, and with a runtime of 99 minutes, that is a scare every 6.6 minutes. I'm going to need a name for my Best Scare Awards, so leave some comments down below letting me know what I should be calling it. But for the meantime, my best scare is going to go to none other than when the demon popped up in front of the frame in the stairwell during the lightning storm. I think this was completely unexpected. Honestly, when I first saw this, I was expecting like a lightning flash or thunder or whatever, and he was just going to crawl. But the fact that he just went like, bam, and he was right there, I think was a perfect scare in this movie, and it was done really well. Annabelle came out in 2014 and spawned a trilogy alongside the main storyline of The Conjuring. On the next scare score, we will take a look at The Conjuring 2, which came out in 2016, giving us 2 spin-off movies, The Nun, and the one that's stuck in development hell, The Crooked Man. As always, be sure to hit that like button because I very much appreciate it. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so that way you know when I post a brand new video. And I will see all of you on the next one. Bye, friendships.